But here we have our first term we can talk about. And that first term is warm. And you might be wondering, what does warm mean? I'm going to change the background so it looks a little bit more warm. Orange and red are colors that might be warm. So if you ever hear warm in English, think of this. Warm is in between cold and hot, but it's definitely closer to hot. Warm, it's usually comfortable. Warm is usually a good thing. For example, you can warm yourself next to a fire. Yes, warm can be a verb. It can be something you do. And it looks like there are 104 people watching. So, welcome. 16 on Instagram. Come on over. Come on over. How about this? Warm is almost always good. It's snowing where I live right now. And if you look at that family near the fire, a word in English to describe that picture is cozy. They don't seem too hot. They seem comfortable. The mom is smiling, got a Christmas tree in the background. That looks really cozy. But there is one time a parent might not like for their child to be warm, and that is when we talk about a fever. So, a fever happens when you are sick and your body gets a little too warm. Yeah. So, if you look down at the bottom, I have a couple sentences. Feel free to practice your shadowing, practice your pronunciation as I read it. I think I will do a pretty good job reading, seeing English is my first language. Wish me luck. A parent might say to a child, "You feel warm," if they think they are sick and have a fever. All right, fever. And if you look at that thing in the picture, and if you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry you can't see it. But if you think you might be sick and you have a fever, you can use something called a thermometer. That's how you pronounce that. Thermometer. Thermometer. And in that word, there is a word part, therm. We are going to talk about that in a minute. But here is the sentence: a thermometer takes a person's temperature to see if they are running a fever. So a parent might say, "Ooh, you feel warm," meaning you might have a fever. You might be getting sick. And just know, anytime in English you see therm, THERM, and you don't know that word, think it might have something to do with heat. Because in English, we get a lot of our words from the Latin and Greek languages. So therm sometimes, almost always, has something to do with heat.